Hey, 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 it's Amy Right Meow, coming back at you with some art stuff. Are you ready to see more Pokemon? Probably not, you're probably sick of them, but here you go, here's some more. So, welcome back to another video. This video is going to be all about me basically predicting Mega Evolutions. Just calling it now, guys. May have not been quite the case, but as you can see, these drawings are of an evolution in addition to Espeon and Umbreon. But anyway, here we go. So if you ever left a piece of paper around the house, it was probably going to get drawn on, as you can probably tell by my dad's maths for his business up in the corner of the paper, which is kind of funny. Consider them Pokemon, Dad. I like how my dad always said to me, drawing Pokemon won't get you anywhere. Well, look where I am now, Dad, making films on YouTube. And whilst it may look like they're a bit stuck all over them, that's probably true. That's probably what was going through my head as a kid. I have to apologize first and foremost, this is a sped up video. That is because I actually spent the time recording this and talking through what I was drawing, me going through the process of gathering ideas, sketching things out first, doing poses, talking you through line work, and then when I went to edit the video in Premiere, I realized that recording it on OBS, I'd turned on noise gate and I couldn't pick out, because my fan is going on in the background, I couldn't grab at any point the noise, to grab the noise point to remove it from the background. So the audio quality was just so bad. I even got one of my housemates to listen to it and I was like, is this as bad as I think it is? And he was just like, yeah, this isn't salvageable. We sat down together and tried to fix it yesterday to no avail. So here I am talking over this drawing. Essentially, it's a speed paint now, unfortunately. Sorry about that. Yeah. So basically we have two Pokemon here. We have Veltion. Don't know where I came up with that name. It kind of sounds a bit like Velcro. And then we have Triple-Trion. As her name suggests, she has 3 types, and those are Ice, Electric, and Dark. Super edgy, just like 8-year-old me. Jokes, I wasn't edgy, I was just a weird kid. Though, looking at these, I'm kind of thinking they may have been Mega Evolutions, as you can see they have kind of like stones integrated into them. So I think my idea of Mega Evolution as a kid was maybe Pokemon being combined with each other, or something like that. Veltion is very much, you can see some very prominent Vaporeon aspects. And I don't know whether that's just because I copied Vaporeon's design or whether there was some deeper thought gone into it. Maybe, you know, because Espeon, your Eevee has to be happy, but in the sunlight to evolve into Espeon, well, what if she was happy in the sunlight and stepped on a water stone, just decided instead of being a Vaporeon or an Espeon, she wanted to be both. Or he. Genders don't matter here. Not so sure about Triple-Trion, because obviously Glaceon didn't exist back when Gen 2 had newly come out. So, yeah, that one's a bit lost on me. But maybe if Veltion did have, I think my idea is this Mega Evolution kind of thing I came up with as a kid, was you'd add an extra type on to make it more complicated. Did you have any weird Pokemon combinations or weird Mega Evolutions or designs, weird Pokemon as a kid? Tell me about it, I want to know. Did you come up with stupid ideas like I did? So I haven't written down Veltion's typing, but if we're keeping this, you know, close to Gen 2, I suspect she would be like normal, psychic, and ghost, because obviously fairy didn't exist back then. She's got kind of a Mr. Mimey vibe going on. It's kind of like weird, clowny, so maybe the ghost aspect will fit in quite well. Also, you'll notice that these drawings are pretty stylized. So anybody, you know, that wants to comment, those don't look like any Pokemon I've ever seen before. That's because I'm not drawing them accurately to the style. Did anybody recognize that voice? Anybody here watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged? That took up a lot of time during my college years. Oh dear. So I'm going through drawing some poses, and I drew Veltion doing a kind of stalky pose. She was doing a more whimsical, very Espeon-like pose, and then a more on the offensive kind of, I want to say Jolteon-esque pose, you know what I mean, she's standing on guard. And then Triple-Trion, I kind of started drawing her kind of whimsically, but then I realized she's a bit more of an edgy tank, so I'm gonna draw her looking quite stoic and strong. So I'm drawing some sort of lines of actions through this and trying to get some movement, like we talked about in the last video. So I'm feeling it looks pretty good. Also, I find it pretty funny when I asked in the last video with Espeon and Pikachu, asking people, what do you think the Eevees are? Like, a lot of people are just like, oh, I think they're this, but there are other people that are like, they're definitely Fennec, they're definitely cats, or they're definitely... They could be anything of the above. They were quite pretty cool ideas though. Like the Fennec foxes, the Tanukis. I just see I see a lot of creativity in them in general. I think they've probably taken inspiration from a lot of different animals. It's funny talking of Fennec foxes. I'll have to put it in another video, but I used to draw loads and loads of starter Pokemon, like my own created starter Pokemon. And one of them was actually very close to Fennec, and it was a fire fox. And it's called, I think it's called Fennec something. I'll have to dig it out. Maybe I could show it up here. Then the other one, there was another one I remember being a dolphin for the water type. There was a very leafy looking horse I remember for the grass type, which I thought was kind of cool at the time because I was like, oh, you've got Ponyta with the fire. Now we've got a grass horse. Yeah, that doesn't quite sound as cool as fire. I'm trying to stay pretty faithful to my designs here, but as you can see, I'm tweaking things as I go along. Like, as I got to the frills on Veltion, I was just thinking, what am I doing with these? When you look at these designs, you think, wow, you've just stuck on a frill on an Espeon, and people, you know, talk about newer generations of Pokemon that maybe experience the originals and say, oh, new Pokemon these days, they're nowhere near as good as Gen 1. Well, to be honest, I grew up with Gen 1. The first Pokemon game I ever played was Pokemon Yellow. I'll be honest, there's a lot of Gen 1 Pokemon that I don't like. Like, Golem, I think he's really boring. Tangler's kind of weird. I mean, did they predict Nicki Minaj, or is just Jinx is just a can of worms I don't want to open? Mr. Mime creeped me out. I mean, he's like a human Pokemon. That's weird. I didn't particularly like Chansey. I didn't like... There's a lot of Pokemon that I didn't like. I actually think my favourite generation was probably Generation 3, and then 2, and then 1. I mean, there are obviously a lot of classic designs, like, obviously, love or hate Pikachu, he's still the Mickey Mouse of Pokemon, and probably Japan. So with these drawings, you'll just see me going through kind of trial and error. I can't think of many artists that can do things perfectly. I sort of have an idea in my head, and I'll start sketching, and just get a bad sketch out, whether it's good or bad, I just go through with it. And then if it's not right, I move on to the next one. Or if it is right and I think I can tweak this and fix it, then I do that. Also, my housemate was telling me that I don't tell you guys that I have social media enough. Well, I use an end card, so... And it's in the description. Apparently, people don't read the descriptions. So I do have a Twitter and an Instagram. I do actually have a Tumblr as well, but I don't really use it. So it's just Amy Write Meow on Twitter, Amy Write Meow on Instagram. A lot of people have been messaging me on Instagram rather than Twitter. I find Instagram just a little bit clunky to deal with messaging-wise. I don't always check it. If there is a question burning in your hearts, just shoot me over a tweet. That would be nice. Also, hi Seb. Thanks for trying to help me out yesterday, even though we failed. Triple Trion looks pretty edgy. I can definitely see quite a bit of influence with from Houndoom. I mean, look at those ankle bracelets. Those have been ripped off Houndoom. Even the like Thunderbolt streaks on her back, that kind of is reminiscent of Houndoom too. So these drawings are definitely less cringy from some of the other ones I've come up with as a kid. Oh, I can't wait to show you some of the really bad ones. They need a dedicated video just to themselves. So these drawings kind of spawned from my mum used to go shopping, and she would go shopping for hours on end, and I hated it with a passion. I absolutely hated going shopping, whether it's food shopping, clothes shopping. She liked to shop, and I hated it. Like, obviously, when I was an older kid, I was allowed to go off on my own and have a look at my own thing and make my own fun. But as a young kid, I just sat in the car because I couldn't be bothered. But I used to have this puzzle book in the back seat, and I'd ended up filling out all of the puzzles. So on the back of the pages, I just started drawing, and it was mainly filled with Pokemon and Neopets, but there are some weird things in there. So I'm just gonna chuck some color on these Pokemon, make them look pretty. Okay, I've spent this whole video rambling on. What lesson have we learned from this, guys? I think something valuable to take away from looking at drawing you did as a kid was that you had no fear of failure. A lot of artists these days hate any art they do because they always see problems with it, they always see something wrong with it, they always see room for improvement. And while seeing room for improvement can be good and productive and it helps you move forward, it's very, very easy to get sucked into the black abyss of self-hatred and loathing whenever you produce a piece of art, because you can constantly comparing yourself to others. But as a kid, you never had that. You always just, especially as a very young child, you would just draw and draw and draw, and it didn't matter what you were drawing, it didn't matter whether it was good or not, you just did it because you enjoyed it. And that's something we should all take away from this. If you are new to art, if you're a veteran to art, for goodness sake, have fun with what you're doing. Enjoy the process. If something is feeling not right and you're getting annoyed at it, put it aside or move on to something else. Just have a break from it. You can make a decision then with a clear head, and you can either fix what you had issues with or just move on to something else. Like, it's not the end of the world. Just move on to a new drawing and start over. That's why I always encourage people who do want to start drawing, start with drawings that only take you 30 seconds or a minute. Then you get through so many bad drawings that you start seeing improvement a lot quicker. I think a big mistake people make is that they just sit down, they try and draw for 3 hours, and then the result they get is not what they want. When you think, I'm putting 3 hours into this, you expect to get something really good out of it. But then when you don't, you're really disappointed and disheartened and think, I can't do this, and throw it out the window and don't try again. Honestly, start with really short sketches. Just draw anything. Draw a plant pot, draw a radiator, draw a bin. I'm just looking around my room right now, as you could probably tell. Anything, just don't spend too long doing it, especially if you're new. Buy a cheap sketchbook. You don't need an iPad, you don't need a Cintiq. The only way you're going to improve drawing is if you keep doing it. The next video I'm working on is the most illustration-heavy video I've done yet, and it is... The reason I don't call my videos animations, I've changed it to animatic, is because I actually work in the animation and ad industry, and what I do more closely resembles animatics than it does animation. Whilst you technically could call it animation, I don't want to take that title away from the incredible animators that are on here, like Harry Partridge and Oni NG with Hellbenders and old classics and Psychic Pebbles, and that is frame by frame animation or puppeted animation. Whilst I could animate my videos, they would just take way too longer to produce. So my selling point is the pretty art and the story. I'm not so concerned with making too much of it move. I'm gonna put a little bit of puppet tool and things, but basically I just have a lot to draw. So this next video, I think you're gonna like it. It's a continuation of my Weird Kid video. It's kind of a spin-off of that. I reckon you're really gonna enjoy it. But like I said, I'm gonna try and get that out by next week. I need to work like crazy in my evenings as soon as I get back from work. As soon as I get on the bus, I'm getting my iPad out and trying to sketch out things so that I can work on it as soon as I get back. So I am doing this all in my spare time right now, and I'm working very, very hard, and it's quite tiring, but I want to try and get this video out by next Sunday. No promises, it might be sort of midweek next week, but once that video is out, I think it's going to be a good one. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Oh, that'll do.